Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet and Good Torah. We have a special guest tonight, Rabbi Mordehay Darwish. And man, do we have a lot to talk about. We got the whole situation in Israel, and then what do we actually need to do to get Moshiach here? what do we need to do? You know, what's going on and where do we go from here? What do you think?
Want to go first, or should I?
You're right. I got something interesting. Let me see if I can bring up this screen share. Let me see if I can do this here. I got something interesting. There's an interesting pasuk from this week's Parsha. And if Parsha Vayetze is like the Parsha of going out into Gullus, going out into exile, and then Parsha Vayishlach next week is going out of the exile into the Gula, or finishing the exile of the Gullus Edom, the Roman exile. It's this pasuk really jumped out at me. It says, "V'yishma es divrei b'nei Lavan lemor." So now Yaakov he heard these things. B'nei Lavan, the sons of Lavan, they were saying, "Lakach Yaakov es kol asher liavinu." Jacob has taken all that was our fathers. Umei asher liavinu asa es kol hakavod hazeh. And from that which was our fathers, he built up all this wealth. So now we see like the rising of the anti-Semitism. They're saying, oh, the Jews took all our wealth. It's the Jews that are taking all our wealth. And then the next pasuk is Vayera Yaakov es Pnei Lavan. And then Yaakov saw like the face of Lavan, Vihine einenu imo kismo shilshom. And then like Lavan's manner wasn't like what it had been in the past. And I found it really interesting. It's like, let me see if I can turn off this now. But it seems like it's like talking about a rise of like anti-Semitism. You know?
Yeah. What's new?
No, but it seems like, but that, and then, then Hashem comes to Yaakov in a prophecy and tells him to go back to Israel. So we see that anti-Semitism is like the first step. There's going to be this big rise in anti-Semitism before the Golus ends. But do we actually have to wait for Nevuah, or is it, the Gemara says that if the Jewish people just do Teshuvah.
Okay, I'll make this clear as day.
Let's hear it.
Okay, we are not supposed to go up to Israel. The Gemara says not to go up to Israel as one unified nation. We're supposed to wait for God's salvation. I don't care what anybody else says. And it says if you do the opposite and you go up there, then you will not have the divine protection you think you have, and you will just be like the beasts of the field. And just like their carcasses are hefker, I don't know a good English translation for hefker.
Yeah, ownerless, right? I guess ownerless.
Ownerless. So too you will be ownerless over there. Okay, we're not supposed to hasten any kind of redemption. And anytime they tried to hasten any kind of redemption in the past, it hasn't ended good. You know what I mean? And it's not the love affair story that everybody wants, the fairy tale.
Right. So it's right, because I think it says in the Gemara, I think it was like, don't go up like a wall, don't go up in mass numbers, but one-on-one, if a family
if you want to go live there and enjoy the fruits of the land or whatever, enjoy the spirituality of it, that's fine. But like to go up there and to create a state and say, okay, that's it, the redemption, or this is the beginning of the redemption, that's not a recipe for goodness. Now you can do it, as we've seen, but this is what boils my blood, because Israel is what they do is they basically propagandize and say, like, we're so strong, come home, everybody come home, this is our fortress, this is where we need to be, the Jew is not safe anywhere else except here. And since the start of the country, 1948, when it gained legitimacy in the eyes of the world, so to speak, through the UN resolution, it's been the most dangerous place. Nearly about 30,000 people have died in Israel since this has happened. So, and then they berate anybody living outside of Israel telling them, oh, you're not safe out there. You're not safe out there. When in fact, that's been exactly the opposite. The most dangerous place for a Jew has been the land of Israel. So,
right, but also,
I don't want to hear it no more.
Yeah. No, but also I forgot who I just recently heard this from, but I think there was a concept like if a Jewish person goes, and I think I was reading over Shabbos. I think I was reading Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman, his book on Ikvos to Mashiach, and I think he was saying that if a Jew is going there to learn Torah and do the mitzvos, he'll have increased protection from Hashem, because Hashem's eyes like stay on Eretz Yisrael all year, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. But he was also saying, Chas v'shalom, that if unfortunately if a person's going there to like not live with Hashem, this whole idea of like being secular, completely separated from the Torah, then it can be very dangerous. It can be extremely dangerous, being there. So it's correct. We see, but it's very confusing because we see both. I mean, we see in some ways the yeshivas flourishing in Eretz Yisrael, and there is a growth of Torah learning there. But
but okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. The yeshivas are quote unquote flourishing. What exactly are they flourishing with? To turn yourself into a Talmud institution is not exactly flourishing. We have 4 parts of the Torah, the pardes, right? Shad, Remes, Dras, and Sod. People don't know that that's the simple meaning, the more elaborate, the hinting, and the secrets of the Torah. And yeshivas aren't known for delving into those parts of the Torah, let alone all the parts of, let's say, Tanakh and the Midrashim and even Halacha. Okay, they're known for their Talmudic studies, so they could be flourishing, and that's great and fine, but it's not really what the Torah was meant to be. You're supposed to study all of the Torah. That's one. Two, if you look at the introduction to Eitz Chaim, he clearly states that all the troubles that come to the Jewish people is from people who learn the dry Torah, a Torah that's simplistic in its meaning, which is exactly the opposite of what it is. It's supposed to be, the secrets are supposed to be learned, the in-depths, the wonders of the Torah are supposed to be learned. And all the troubles that the Jewish people have are because people who refuse to learn. So, they could be flourishing, quote unquote, but they're not doing good.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, so it's interesting. So at the very end of Shabbos, this Shabbos, start opening, I think, Sharei Ura by Rabbi, Getalia.
Gikatilia?
Yeah, Gikatilia. Yeah.
Joseph Gikatilia, yeah.
I think it's right. I think it's Sharei Ura. I haven't studied that in a while, and I've been through very little of it. But it's right. It's kind of like what you're saying. It was so amazing because he's saying, okay, to get your tefillah, to get your prayers answered from Hashem, from the King, what do you really have to do? And he starts off saying, like, if you're going to a king of flesh and blood, you want to make sure that you're dressed, very fine, and you're going in with the best attitude. And he's explaining, like, there's many, gatekeepers. And if you want to get your message to the king, you have to make sure that none of the gatekeepers are going to stop you. And he started talking about this wondrous thing of like how above us, like just in the highest parts of Shemayim, there's all these malachim, there's all these angels, and we have to get them to want to accept our prayers. And then in the lower spiritual creatures, like the mazikim, like the dangerous, like, destructive demons, and our prayers have to go through all these levels. And he starts talking about the 10 names of Hashem, like the Torah gives. And he's saying the first key is you begin with the first key, the name of Hashem Adonai. And that's the first key that begins to open up the palace. But just how much he was talking about, like all the kavana, and we just daven all the time, but are we really getting an answer? Like, why are we doing it? Don't we want Hashem to answer us? And we got to take this very seriously and be very strategic.
That's exactly what the Zohar says. The Zohar says, why do my people pray and they are not answered? Because they don't know who I am. They don't know who, and it's not studied. We learned about it maybe the first week in yeshiva, and that was us, the Baal Tshuva yeshiva. We learned about God for maybe a week, and that was it. You started going straight into, you're allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that, and the meanings behind it and all that stuff. You do not spend much time about God and fostering a relationship with God. So
yeah. No, I think I think this is really right. What you're saying, it's like the dry bones in the vision of Yechezkel. It's Ezekiel. It's like why are we doing the mitzvahs? We're doing the mitzvahs to connect ourselves closer with Hashem. Well, I mean, there's some mitzvahs that are like Bein Adam L'Chaveiro. There's mitzvahs that start to connect us with other people, but that also, connect with other people, it also helps us connect to Hashem. You're right. Like, why are we doing all this? The whole purpose is our connection with Hashem. Like, why do we need Eretz Yisrael? Because that's where Hashem chose that's where He'll build the Beis Hamikdash again. That's where we can have this close relationship with Hashem. You're right. I mean, this is missing. It seems like this is missing. It's very dry. It's not
exactly. It's very focused on keep the law, and you need to keep the law, but there's an element beyond it. You're keeping it to foster that relationship, to love God, to connect. And if you're not doing it for that, then it's like, okay, you're just doing it by rote. And the Torah lambasts people who do it by rote. They'll get rewarded and everything, but that's not the whole purpose of it. And like I see between the veil of like who's coming at us, you know what I mean? Even in their stupid ways or whatever, they're screaming Allahu Akbar, God is great. Give us a little hint, a little nudge that the whole purpose of the world is that man discovers his creator and draws closer and builds that relationship with him. Whether it was Adam Arishon, the first man that ever was created, whether it's going to be the last man that's ever created. That's the whole purpose, to draw close to God and not stray from him. And I think that's lost on humanity. Everybody's whether it is these woke idiots that are like, they have their own morals and their own rights and wrongs, or it's these crazy religions that are made up by man who have their own rights and wrongs, and everybody's screaming at the top of their lungs whether they're right and the other person is wrong, and no one's getting to the heart of the matter.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. No, I've heard it before that from a couple Rabban that like anti-Semitism, it holds like tochacha from Hashem, like what the anti-Semites are accusing us of is something that sometimes we need to work on. Like, if they're accusing us of being too rich, then we're holding too close to like all this gashmias, all this material wealth, and not like yours, not really connecting to Hashem, not seeing what's really important. Like they're giving us a message, a rebuke of where we need to work and straighten out, and it's like a wake-up call. It's like this. Or if they're saying the land's ours, I mean, maybe Hashem's sending a big message like, what are you waiting for? I promised, the children of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov that I would give you the land, but I also told you in the Torah what I want you to do to inherit it. What do you wait? If you want the gift, if you want, do what you have to do, do what I laid out for you to do, and then you can get the reward. Then you get the gift. You can.
Yeah.
Or what do you want?
Yeah, listen, we were quote unquote led into the land by people who have a total disregard for our heritage, and they use our heritage as their claim to fame, or their the only thing they can hold on to is our heritage, but they disregard it. So they just use it as if access to the club. I know so and so, let me in. You know what I mean? And they're playing against people who, frankly, like if you were playing poker and the guy at the table doesn't care if he loses or not, that's who you're playing against. That's who the Arabs are. That's who the Muslims of the world are. They don't care if they lose a few thousand. It's not like us. They really don't care. And you're playing against that person at the table. Who's going to flinch first? I guarantee it's the person who, has deep pockets. They're not going to flinch first. The person that's worried about losing everything.
Yeah, I know. It's been very strange the last couple of days, because in some ways, like Arab Shabbos and then Motzi Shabbos, it was so good to see Jewish people coming out of Gaza, seeing people alive, and then Hashem protected them, and Hashem's bringing them out. But what are we going to do to get everyone out? Like, what are we going to do, Bezrat Hashem, to get all the...
What are they going out to?
Yeah.
What are they going out to? Back to their parties? What are they going out to? Come on, let's be honest. Where are they going back to? Sesame Place? Like where are they going to? To do what exactly?
I mean, it's
go back to their regular secular lifestyles. Like, oh great, oh wow, good job.
I don't know, but I mean, it's the preciousness of life. Like, with life, there can be teshuvah, there can be learning Torah, there can be doing.
But you're dealing with people who have a total disregard for the preciousness of life. They do not value what you value, and you're playing a game against these people. And instead of seeing it as life and death, you literally are playing a quote unquote game, Geneva Convention or whatever it is. You're playing by some made up rules of war, which they have total disregard for. They're not playing by these rules, and there's no referee. Okay, it's every man for himself.
Well, but if we really want to take the greatest view, who's really behind all the events? Hashem's directing everything. So he's directing this for his reason. It's Hashem's Ratzon that all these events are being directed, and the goal is teshuvah. The goal is teshuvah, to bring back the Jewish people. That's the goal. The goal is geula. The purpose of the world is not gullus, not exile.
So somebody has to stand up. Somebody has to stand up and say, "Yo, get your butts together," and call it out to their face, and not to handhold them. Be like, "Yo, listen, it's time. It's time." Like I started acting like your heritage. That's the first. It's the first verse a Jew's supposed to teach his kid. It's not Shema Yisrael, right? It's not Bereshit. It's Torah tzivah lanu Moshe kirat Yaakov.
Yeah, Torah.
Okay, Moshe commanded us the Torah. It's an inheritance to the people of Yaakov. That's us. It's our inheritance. It's not, and it's a treasure. It's an amazing treasure. Okay, but it's been trampled on and made to be like a disgusting thing. The wisdom of the scribes will be disgusted in people's eyes. Like that's got to stop. Like people got to stand up and stop pussyfooting around it and be like, yo, dude, act like freaking Jews. You know what I mean? But nobody says anything to them because they're afraid, right? They want to get their money from the government, and so they'll appease them and say whatever they need to in order to get their taksiv or whatever it is, right? Nobody tell them, yo, you act like a freaking goy. Keep Shabbos. Like no one's gonna say that, right? Until the Moshiach comes, and he will say that. And he's not gonna say it friendly. He's not gonna be like, "Oh, could you please try Shabbos? It's such a good thing." He's gonna say either you do it or you're dead. Like there's not gonna be any way. You read the Rambam. He's not gonna pussyfoot around it.
Yeah, it is.
Right now we're talking about why don't you try Shabbos and have a nice meal and do all that stuff, and he's gonna be like, "Yo, do it or get out."
Yeah, here. I don't know. There's really the difference between the Sephardi approach to Kiruv and the Ashkenazi approach to Kiruv. Like Sephardi is like, do it.
Yeah.
Do the Torah. Do it. Stop it.
Do it. Listen, I'm Mount Sinai. We said Nasa V'Nishma. We didn't say, let me see what's in it.
Yeah, if I come for Shabbos,
my lifestyle. Yeah. That was the Goyim. The Goyim were like, I don't know, maybe. What's in it for me? Doesn't fit my lifestyle. Okay, then you don't need to be in the Middle East surrounded by all your freaking enemies and screaming how proud you are that you build a state. Meanwhile, you're reliant on every other person, relying on a big brother America, and you're a puppet. Whatever they say ceasefire, you ceasefire. They say fire, you fire. Okay, you're beholden to them. Okay, but you pound your chest in literally the most dangerous place in the world. You pound your chest for what? For who? What are you doing? You know what I mean? To be like the nations, then go to America and be like the nations. Go to Australia, be like the nations. Go anywhere in the world to be like the nations. Why do you need to be there to be just like everybody else?
Yeah, it is an interesting question. Right. I found it really discouraging that I don't know. Militarily, I don't know how hard it is, but But with Hashem's help, how hard is it to go in and get the hostages back? Like if Hashem's helping us, everything's going to open up. Like it's like, what.
Okay. Let's talk about this Hashem helping us. Okay. We know that when only the tzaddikim went out to war. Okay. Why did only the tzaddikim go out to war? Because at wartime, okay, the Satan, the angel of death, starts accusing. Okay, and if the people on the battle lines aren't righteous, they die, they fall. That's the way God runs the world. Okay, is God merciful? Does He shut the angel of death's mouth up sometimes? Yeah, but that's not the general construct of how war works. Okay, and who are we sending out exactly? Okay, it's not the yeshiva people. Okay, and what's going on? We're running. It's the most screwy place in the world. Okay, you have your enemies all around you, and you pretend like they're not your enemies. You pretend like they're not trying to kill you at every single second. Okay, you pretend that. You let them into your government. Okay, they pass laws against you. They speak out against you at every turn. It's the screwiest place in the world. Yet these people don't fight in your army because they have dual allegiance to their brothers and sisters. They can't kill them. So who's their allegiance really to? Okay, it's a screwy place. It's ridiculous.
But but it's what you're saying. The tzaddikim are not going to fight until we're fighting for Torah, until we're fighting for Hashem, until we're establishing the Torah. The tzaddikim are not going to come out and fight to Mekayim, secularism, to have a state without Hashem, So, that goes back to your argument before. Is any of this going to happen before Hashem sends Moshiach? One thing that really has gone back and forth on my mind, I heard Rabbi, I think Mordehay Darwish say this years ago. He was saying, it says in the Gemara that to make the Jewish people do teshuvah, Hashem's going to send a king worse than Haman. But here's where it gets very crazy. Hashem did send a king worse than Haman, and he sent that king in 1932 and 1945. So here we had a descendant of Amalek that, instead of being stopped like Haman, slaughtered 6 million Jews. That event already happened. It didn't it didn't say, Hashem didn't say he's going to do it twice. Hashem didn't say he's going to do it twice. You don't think?
Okay, listen. I think people want to read into history a little bit more than that.
I don't know.
If you look at Haman, right, and all the other kings, quote unquote kings that the Torah talks about, they rule from all over the world. Like Ahasuerus, he rules the whole world. When you have a king that rules the whole world, right, where all the Jews at once could start getting terrified, then you might be talking. But when it's just a locale, that's not really a king. You know what I mean?
It was Motrayo, so it was Yura. I hear what you're saying. Wow, that's pretty scary. No, it's right. It talks a lot about in the Gemara. It talks about in the Zohar that there's going to be this war between Edom and Paras, and that the Roman Empire is going to defeat the Persian Empire. So it would be modern day. It would be the equivalent of the USA defeating Iran in a war, and then the USA would be all powerful for 9 months, and then that would be Chevli Mashiach. That would be because America would be all pourful. They would control basically.
Yeah, 100%. And what it seems like is like right now, quote unquote America, who's actually running it? It seems like the people that are in charge right now are actually fighting for the destruction of it. Pardon the pun. Okay, but that's what they're doing. They're doing every possible policy to bring down the destruction of America, from its open borders to its stupidity backing dumb proxy wars. It's just insane. Like the cutting off of the gas pipeline, making us dependent on other countries. Like it's total. The woke agenda. it's just ridiculous, self-hating, and it's bringing it down. So that doesn't look like the empire that's going to fight, the Iranians, the Persians. Okay, it has to be a strong empire. So I don't think we're close to that strong empire. Maybe in a few years.
I know. I wouldn't go that far. I would say even with all the nonsense that some of the politicians are pushing, you have these two carrier strike groups and one nuclear submarine in the Middle East right now. And even though Joseph Biden is very weak, I mean that the military power of what's out there can destroy countries. I mean, you're talking massive.
But who's the commander in chief? Who is directing them? It's not the ability, right? It's like you got the ability, but who's directing that power? You know what I mean? It's like you put an infant behind a Mercedes fully loaded G-Wagon. Okay, yeah, the car has the power, but it's a baby running it. Like, really?
But I think we saw. I mean, we've been through this. This is like deja vu again. We were in this with the Obama administration, and Obama was going around and he was kowtowing to the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, the Muslim Brotherhood actually took over Egypt, and he called them up to legitimize them, to congratulate them. Right. This was before al-Sisi did the counter-revolution. Right. I mean, he was bowing down to the Ishmaelian leaders around the world. The American troops, the American troops were actually captured by these little Iranian little nothing ships. These little gunboats took American, I think it was like Navy sailors into captivity. And then there was a backlash, and then there was Trump. I think
we have an America First agenda. That's another story.
And I think we're building up to another huge. I mean, you have the American military has been fired on, I think 69. I've lost count of how many times they've been fired on so far.
They gave $10 billion just a few weeks ago to Iran.
That's the most disgusting. It's not even the $6 billion, which is so disgusting that he gave Iran before. But after all the events of October 7th, he gave them $10 billion. And then the first thing Biden did is old, feeble Joe Biden ran over there. Man can barely walk, man can barely talk, but ran right over there to give $100 million to the Palestinians right after the slaughter. Got to give humanitarian aid to the Palestinians right after the slaughter. And then $10 billion more. Yeah.
This is what the Jews don't realize. They're playing both sides like a fiddle, and they're just a pawn.
I mean, it's
there's no right or wrong.
It's Edom and Paras.
They're playing both sides.
I mean, it's Edom and Paras working together, and that's where we have conditions of Amalek. So you say we're not already there. Here's another thing. If there's a good majority of students in the Ivy League right now that are really pro-Palestinian, they're going to be running the government in 10 years. They're going to be coming into positions of power. And so the Jews don't have much more time before the official American position could be against Israel. I mean, there could be
God saves us. We don't save ourselves. There's no storyline in the Torah where we save ourselves. And that's what the Zionists don't want to admit. And that's a majority of I don't know majority, but a lot of Torah people don't want to admit. There is no course in history where the Jews save themselves.
Well, we save ourselves. We save ourselves by crying out to Hashem. We do teshuvah.
Exactly. That's it.
And Hashem
but he's the one who interjects. Yeah. He's the one who interjects. We don't do any of this work. Okay? We don't have to do any of it. We don't have to worry about it. We have to worry about one thing, our mission, our spiritual mission. When we fulfill our spiritual mission, God takes care of the physical. When we don't, then, we got to worry about the physical. Oh, and we got to do it happily and with a smile on our face.
So what do you think? So what are some of the keys of what's going to actually wake up the Jewish people?
Well, it's like this. I view it as any kind of sports team. You either look out for your teammates or you lose. If you start, infighting, you'll never win your game. Okay? You got to look out for your fellow teammates. In this case, your fellow Jews. You got to do chesed, and you got to do it and not have an evil eye against them. Not look at anything to their detriment. You should want for them to succeed financially, spiritually, health-wise. You gotta love, and you have to understand that we're one team. If you don't understand that, you're doomed. And on top of that, you got to increase your humility. This arrogance is it's just a tool that's not good, and it's just gonna bring more pain to humble. Because any place that there's arrogance, God hates.
Yeah.
Okay? And then God also treats us measure for measure. If we're kind and helpful and respectful to our fellows, then that's how God's going to treat us. If we're looking, where we can get over on them, where we can be jealous of them and all that stuff, that's not going to be good. It's not going to end well. It never has ended well in history, no matter how righteous the people were.
I saw one of the positives is that maybe those walls of like sina, maybe those walls of baseless hatred between Jewish people is starting to come down a little bit, starting to crack a little bit. Like it's bringing us together. Like,
well, the people who are actually Jewish and not Erev Rav, yeah, those people have increased and have come closer to their fellows. But there is an element amongst us that are not there, and they're not going to be there. And we have to recognize that element and speak out against them.
But the Erev Rav, I mean, I don't think they're going to be removed until Moshiach comes. I think they'll be in power until Moshiach comes. So
fine, but then we got to recognize that and not, put our hands around them and embrace them. Right. Tell them, hey, buddy, you messed up.
I hear, but it's the time of awakening for the Jewish neshamas, right? The coming together, like the Jewish people waking up. I don't know, maybe rejecting the Erev Rav, but how? But I mean,
we have to reject the Erev Rav. You have to hate anybody who hates God. You have to. It's not like, hey, I'll draw you closer. I'll teach you anything you want to do. But if you're gonna be stubborn and say no, you're gonna close off your heart, then what good are you for me? What do you do good for me exactly? What you take up you fight in the army? What do you do for me exactly? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's tricky. So internally, we have the Erev Rav in control. Externally, we have the Western powers demanding that the Arabs not leave Israel, demanding ceasefires, demanding not to destroy Hamas. And then we have the Ishmaelim, we have the Arab world trying to physically destroy. No, because I think we talked about this before. On one side, we have the Ishmael trying to physically destroy us. And then maybe the more subtle thing is Edom spiritually destroying us. The atheism of the West.
Yes, you have the physical, you have the spiritual, and you have the enabler. And the Erev Rav is the enabler.
The enablers.
Okay? Yeah. You have the spiritual, you have the physical, and the enabler.
So we got
that's the battle. And if we don't wake up, we don't realize what's going on, and then we're just we're like sheep to the slaughter. Either way, spiritually or physically.
Oh, I forgot.
Intermarriage is at all-time highs. That's slaughter.
I forgot the most devious of all enemies. The most devious of all enemies. Then we have the Yetzer Hara in our own thoughts. We have the Satan in our own thoughts, constantly choosing between the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov. So we have a war on four fronts, and the only way, like you said, the only way we're going to win this is Hashem. We need Hashem's help. We need to cry out to Hashem. We need the help. Yep. We're over
unity in Hashem. Unity in Hashem.
Yeah. Yeah. Jewish people coming together and
unity in Hashem. There is no other secret sauce. This is unity and Hashem. That's it. And that's what it says before Moshiach comes. You want to be saved, you should study Torah and do acts of kindness. And how can you do acts of kindness? Yeah. Right? And how can you do Torah? It's just you look up to Hashem and you love each other. You bond with each other. You fight each other. You have no hope against the enemy.
Yeah.
Right. And what's the game plan? The game plan is our heritage. There is no other game plan. I don't want to hear anything else from anybody else. The game plan is our heritage. Either you stick to our heritage or you're dead. There is no other game plan. The Maccabees, right? We're about to embark upon Hanukkah, right? Or 10 people taking on an army of thousands, okay, hundreds of thousands, okay, 10 people, and yet they beat them, right? And they weren't trained, and they weren't backed by America, and they weren't, they were nice little yeshiva guys, right?
Yeah.
And it's right there in the modim, right? You gave the strong enemy at the hands of the weak, right? We were weak, and we still won because we had God, right? We turned the right way. Yeah. If you turn away from God, you're not going to succeed. No endeavor has ever succeeded.
I think we'll leave it there because we're almost out of time here. But
that time bug. I'm telling you, that's the other. That's the other enemy. Time is of the essence.
May have to get the upgrade. Okay, so yeah, I hope everybody enjoys it. Come back for more Torah discussions on Sweet and Good Torah, and Rise of Hashem. We'll see good stuff. We're not seeing, we need to see more good stuff. Okay.
Oh man.
Okay. Talk soon.